Hey there, and welcome to the 5th part of the Ultimate Guild Making Guide series. As a reminder, these videos in this series are all going to be under the guild making playlist on my channel, and as I make more guild content, I'll continuously add to that playlist. This video is all about the fabled marps. Yes, I do pronounce it that way. This is a technique to get some really epic loot that is highly sought after for cosmetics in-game, and I honestly think that anyone that is interested in making guild through combat should strongly consider adding this to their guild making arsenal. So if this video helps you at all, and you want to help support my content, I would incredibly appreciate if you placed buried treasure on that like button and followed the map to the X that marks the spot on the subscribe button. And yes, that's terribly corny. I'm so sorry. So let's talk about maps, and first off, let's lay out all of the cards on the guild. When it comes to maps, this is a method that is more profitable if you're going in a group of people. This can be done either by making a party finder group or by making a pre-made group with friends. In an ideal world, all people will be in one or more maps, usually 2 or sometimes 3, but if you tend to go over 2, it might make things a little bit longer than an hour or so. But under this condition that you are going with a group, I'm going to show you some real-world data acquired from me doing a set of 16 maps in roughly an hour or so with a group of 7 other people. There are a lot of numbers here, but don't worry, I will go through everything step by step. So the first thing that you're going to notice is that I have 3 distinct columns here. The furthest right column is going to be the first we're knocking out. This is just who brought what maps and where the map was at, just for keeping track of who is where. This is a good habit for the leader to keep track of what map to teleport to and when, because if you have 2 maps both on Collusia, why teleport back and forth? But more on that later. But now the more relevant and important concerns to Gil are to the furthest left and the middle column. The left column is a map-by-map breakdown of exactly what happened and when. This includes data like did we get a teleport or not, so a portal, indicated by a true or false in that column. Floor indicates what floor this map got to. Obviously, if you didn't get a portal, then you won't have any floor indicated. The next thing is that interesting items do drop, and so these are going to be the things that you sell on the market board for cosmetics that are very much sought after. These are high ticket value items that are tremendously large amounts of gil to get. The quantity, or QTY I mean, stands for quantity, which just shows how many of each interesting item we got for that run. Lastly is the gold column here, which is actually something to not just shove your nose up in the air and be like, ugh, just raw gil, but you get a ton of raw gil. These seemingly innocuous little numbers truly do add really, really fast. Now, if you want to take the time to review the raw data, you can do that, of course, but I am going to move on into the middle column, where the raw data is compiled together and synthesized into more palpable values that are probably easier to just understand. So overall, we can see that the total raw gil made was almost 406k. We had an alarmingly low portal rate of 44%, and the average floor we made it to was floor 3.1, which I'll get to later in the video. The maximum floor that you can get is floor 5. Honestly, everything said and done, this was a pretty weak run, which makes me pretty confident, actually, ironically enough, very confident, to show these values here on my channel, because this doesn't let your expectations run wild, because that's the last thing I want to do is feel like I'm deceiving people for clickbaits. I mean, if I want to do clickbait, there are 1,000 other videos that I do. But I don't want people to come out with the expectation that, oh my god, I'm gonna run maps for an hour and then you're gonna leave with 5 million gil. Like, that's not realistic. I find that these values that I'm showing you right now are pretty reasonable values that I'd expect to get pretty consistently. At least I'm going off of what I am seeing here on Gilgamesh. So actually talking about that, let's get into item drops next. So pre-warning is that each server has a different market board, and so just know that this is on Gilgamesh, which is my frame of reference since that's my home. And we can see here that there was a total of 3 cloth softening powder that sells for roughly 100k per, and so that is a total of 300k in profits. 2 fireglass leather at 40k a piece, totaling for 80k, 5 sea cloths selling for 220k a pop for 1.1 million gil, and 9 shell leather for 90k a piece for a grand total of 800 for the entire group. These items would sell for nearly 2.3 million gil on the Gilgamesh market board at present at the time I'm recording this video. And remember, as I said in past videos, we are currently in a market board slump right now because we're in between the patches. But what does this mean for everyone in the group? Each player will get the total full raw gold dumped into the inventory automatically. So everyone got 405k directly into their inventory. Then I took the average of the market board sales, taking the 2.3 million and dividing it by 8, resulting in nearly 300,000 per person. This makes it so that each player obtained roughly 700,000 gil for this. And likewise, this makes this method of gil making extremely lucrative to those who are trying to avoid crafting and gathering for gil and just want to chill and do combat with friends. So enough about the gil, let's get into the actual map techniques so you can get going and doing the marps. Maps can be acquired from either gathering high-level nodes in Shadowlands areas or buying them from the market board. In this video, we are only going to be looking at zoner skin maps, only zoner skin. But if you want to try and target different market board items, you can check those out too. But all I really do myself is zoner skin at this point. These are currently about 25k or so on the Gilgamesh market board right now at the time that I'm recording this. Tips for holding maps is that you can technically only hold one map, that is the limitation imposed on the game. But that's not the full truth. You can store maps away in different locations, like you can hold one in a chocobo saddlebag. That doesn't really count as your inventory, even though it is. And flat out, you can just open a map while keeping and getting another one in your inventory for carrying a total of 3 maps around. 1 open, 1 chocobo, 1 normal inventory. So when you open your map, you're going to be presented with a pretty difficult to discern little segment of a map. The exact map location of the segment will be mentioned though, like you'll know if you're in Kaluzi or Lakeland. So you go to the website heavensware.com and then you can search up under the treasure maps category for where the different segments can be from. This can be a little bit of trial and error because once you get that location, you use the dig skill and you try and hit the map, but I am really admittedly bad at this myself, so just try digging around until you finally hit the treasure chest. Once you hit that treasure chest, you get waves of mobs that can spawn. Just clear them out. And once that's done, you open a chest and then a portal might open. Everyone should just roll before entering any portal or floor for the record, because they risk getting no loot if they don't do it. But as you will see from my data, we had a decently low rate of 44% spawn rate of portals, so they don't always spawn each time, unfortunately. If that happens, just move on to the next map. That map's done. But assuming you have a portal, once you're in the instance, you can go through floors of mobs, just waves of enemies, and once those enemies are cleared, you spawn a chest at the end. From there, you will either be able to select right or left door. If you choose the correct door, you move on to the next floor, or you will be booted from the instance if you choose poorly. Fortunately, there's no real rhyme or reason to it or method, just try your best, just guess whatever. From the data, you can see on average we got was floor 3, which isn't bad considering the max floor is 5, so if you make it to floor 5, you just defeat the boss and get a significant amount of loot for that. One minigame is in here that I should mention that is an RNG mechanic where you can guess if a number is higher or lower than the one currently presented to you. This will give you significantly more loot, like way more loot, so the risk on RNG can be worth it for sure, but when it doesn't turn out, you're losing a lot of potential profit there, so heads up on that. So honestly, with all that said and done, there is everything that you need to know about the quite profitable and enjoyable marps method of making gil. Honestly, it is one of my favorite methods personally to do because it is just so chill. You can do it with your amazing friends that you love so much to make a ton of gil. And honestly, it is so much more interactive than other methods. This is one of my favorite methods for sure. Anyhow, if this video helped you and you want to help support my content, I'd incredibly appreciate if you buried treasure on that like button and followed the map to the X that marks the spot on that subscribe button. Take care, and I really hope that you have a fantastic day.